And I'm excited to have on today's guest. He has had some interesting history. Now to the most important part of every show. Today's guest is Caleb Ledford. For those unfamiliar with Caleb, I'll read from an article I found on the internet. It looks like it's from North Georgia Living. It's a good magazine. The title of the article is Forged in Fire. After taking a class at the John C. Campbell Folk School in Brasstown, North Carolina, Caleb Ledford began blacksmithing at age 12. A passion for knife making quickly ignited in the young Harris native who competed in the History Channel reality series Forged in Fire at 18, finishing as a finalist in 2 different episodes. The now 21-year-old craftsman continues to create beautifully functioning knives from railroad spikes, and he'll teach you how to do it too in hands-on workshops at his family's farm. The 4-hour workshops take visitors through the entire process, from controlling and heating the metal to forging with a hammer to grinding and beveling the blade. Welcome, Caleb.
Hey, thank you, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Okay, you're 23 now, so this
Yes.
article's a couple years old, but you're teaching now, a lot of classes.
Yes, sir. So that's what I do every single day now. Is I mainly just bring visitors in and teach them how to make knives.
Well, you know, as a young boy, that never crossed my mind. So, could you share with us what sparked your passion for crafting knives?
So it didn't really originally start with knives, but it definitely stemmed from that very early age, and a lot of that came from being around my family. Even my mom's side of the family, he did a lot of woodworking, carpentry work.
Oh, wow.
And we also grew up on a farm here in Young Harris, so kind of got thrown into a mixture of a lot of fooling and messing with things at a really early age. So like the article said, I started a small class I was in at the John C. Campbell Folk School, and that was, I believe, my 6th grade year, so right around that 11, 12-year-old mark. And that just got to show me some very introductory blacksmithing stuff right there. So
at that age, I would not have been bright enough to do anything with sharp. I played football, duh. I mean, anything sharp, I'm not bright enough. But you come from a very bright family. Your dad is the local dentist,
yes,
right?
sir, that's correct.
You come from a very bright family. How do you approach blending the functionality of a blade with the artistry? I looked at some of your knives. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. How do you want it sharp but beautiful? How do you approach that?
Well, so the most important thing is to make sure that it works well.
Sure.
If it doesn't work well, then it's just might as well be a picture on the wall, right?
Right.
So the coolest thing is every knife is essentially the same concept of making sure that it's a quality product. But the cool thing from there is you can always go steps further to make sure it's better and better and better as far as, how beautiful is it? Because that's kind of what you get into, especially other knife makers, is how nice of a knife can you physically make. So there's lots of different aspects that you can throw into the process to make every knife better and better and better each time.
Now, when we talk about functionality and quality, does that have a lot to do with the quality of, are they steel? I mean,
Yes, it's metal. Yes, sir. There's several different metals that we can actually use, but it is always steel. So whether you're using something like a high carbon steel or a stainless steel, all of those do the same goal, but they are a little bit different, just depending on what you like. So that's the main thing.
From a weight?
So not necessarily weight, but actually just what it does. So a lot of your kitchen knives are probably stainless steel because they don't rust. So that's a huge thing. If you're fine with something having what we call patina, which is a little bit of character, a little rust-like texture, then you would want to use something that's maybe like a high carbon steel. Or if you're looking for something that's always very, very clean, especially like I say, your kitchen knives, typically you're going to use a stainless steel.
Wow.
So
I've got to ask, I don't remember these classes when I was back in school. Has this all been just individual learning? You've gone out and sought, how can I improve my craft? Or
yeah, so that's the beautiful thing about this process is I didn't have to reinvent the wheel when it came to knives. So there's been plenty of people that have done the studies to show what the best particular product is, but you're really trying to figure out what's the best product that I'm going to use for my particular knife or anything. So basically what I've done is with that knowledge gone through and communicating with other knife makers or even, machinists, different things like this, just to learn more about steel, how it works, and how I can best use it.
You, how many? This is going to be a wild, crazy question. How many knives would you say you've made? I mean, starting at 12, that
Well, that
hundreds, thousands.
yeah, so I've had my hand now in probably a couple thousand knives, but me personally, that's a hard question to ask
Sure.
because it was definitely very slow at first, and most of the knives that I personally make now, they tend to take quite a bit of time because I'm trying to make them as nice as I possibly
Something
can.
unique.
Yeah.
Your average knife, and I don't know that there's such a thing as the average
Mm-hmm.
knife. How long from start to finish?
Well, so that can essentially be as long as you want it to be. But if you want to just call average, if you're hand making a knife from start to finish, it would be very easy to put anywhere from, 15 to 20 to 25 hours in one. But that can totally be just the opposite in both directions. I offer a class where it's a 4-hour time period, and I also offer classes where it's a 4-day time period. But I've spent upwards of 60 and 70 and 80 hours on certain knives before.
Let's talk about some of the classes you offer. First off, where are they offered?
So they're offered right here in Young Harris. I live near Crane Creek Vineyards, if any of y'all are familiar with that. So it's just, not terribly far away, but it is local.
Do you recommend that they not stop by Crane Creek first and get a bottle of
Well,
wine before they come to
it
the
might not
class?
be a bad idea to do make the knife first and then go to the vineyard.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense. That makes sense. Who is your average student? Because this is intriguing.
so oddly enough, my average student is everybody. I've had students ages ranging from 12 years old on to 80 years old. And the cool thing about it is it is for the man looking how to make a knife. It's also for the couples looking for a fun date idea. It's for the families out here on vacation. It's also for businesses. I've done business retreats before looking for like how to do some of those, group learning projects type things like that. So I've actually had several companies come out and do that before as well.
I don't know that this is something I'd want to do with my wife.
That's okay.
I've seen her cut herself too many times in the kitchen. That would be a little frightening to me. What kind of prior experience is needed to take a class?
So I do offer a couple different classes, and the truth of the matter is it can range from zero experience at all to minimal experience. So, of course, the whole reason you're coming to take a class is because you're trying to learn, of course. So the original class that I have is the 4-hour railroad spike knife making class. No experience is required at all. I have some people that have watched videos or shows like Forge and Fire where they have a small idea of what is happening. Sometimes they don't. Now, I also offer multi-day courses where I do encourage maybe either having taken a previous class from me like the railroad spike or having just have more knowledge of what's going on. I can, of course, walk everybody through every individual step and show them exactly how to make it. But I don't recommend starting off with the hardest thing first necessarily.
I don't think you know how slow I am. You say everybody. I'm not sure. I may challenge you and come out to a
Come
class.
on, anytime.
The classes, let's go back over time. If someone's interested, how do they find out about your classes?
So there's several different ways. The easiest way is to go on my website, which you can find all of my information, which is ledfordworks.com. You can browse through pictures and read, and you can also, of course, register on the website. I'm also on social media as well, Instagram and Facebook, if you just look up Ledford Works there as well. But hopefully over time I'll browse into more things such as YouTube and other things like that as well.
And Ledford is LEDFORD works.com.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right.
Let's talk about Forged in Fire. You are a 2-time finalist. How do you even get? It's a History Channel show. My brother-in-law, who asked me to ask you a question we'll get to here in a second. How did you become a contestant on Forged in Fire?
So it was a show that I'd watched for a couple years leading up to it, but essentially all I had to do is actually just apply for the show. It's not exactly the most common thing that a lot of people do, so they are looking for people to go on the show, especially at that particular time. So I just applied, and directly after high school is when after I graduated, I actually got to compete on that show. And went through that, became a finalist on that. It was a wonderful experience. And then a couple years later, they actually re-invited me to come back onto the show and compete again. So it was a wonderful time.
Were you one of the younger contestants?
Yeah, you had to be at least 18 to actually go on the show. So I was definitely the youngest I could have possibly been to go on the show.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh, it was a wonderful time. Are you kidding me? It was stressful. Don't get me wrong, but it was fantastic.
Where did you go to compete?
It was filmed in Connecticut, but part of the show takes place in Connecticut. Part of the show also took place here at my shop, so they did some filming here as well.
Nice, nice. What would you say to someone who is considering getting into knife making?
Oh, just do it. It's just
Just-
like anything else. The only way you're going to ever try it is just to step in there and physically give it a shot.
Now, I've seen, I mean, you're truly an expert. Some of these knives are absolutely gorgeous. How did you go, though, from being an expert knife maker, a two-time finalist on the History Channel's Forged in Fire, to doing these classes you teach?
So it's a bit of a long story, but I'll make it short and simple. I had been making knives for several years at this point, and I was in the transitioning period of kind of coming out of high school, of course, figuring out what I wanted to do with my life as a career. And I knew what I enjoyed doing. I knew what I didn't enjoy doing. I did spend a couple of years at North Georgia Technical College in Clarksville. And during that time, I tried a few different methods of, studies that I wanted to possibly pursue. And during that, I was working one particular job. Was not the most enjoyable thing, in my opinion, when I was doing. So I came home one day, and speaking with a family friend, they encouraged me to possibly pursue doing a class, which I didn't necessarily see being the most interesting thing for most people. And so I just very quickly threw an ad up actually on Airbnb. And very quickly, I actually had somebody book for that class, and it took a little bit of a snowball effect with that. That was about 3 years ago for me personally, and I still advertise on Airbnb, but primarily I do advertise through my website and social media. So from that day, it just steadily snowballed into a daily occurrence for these classes.
And that website, again, folks, is ledfordworks.com. It is a excellent site, great deal of wealth of information. What kind of classes do you offer?
So my primary class is the railroad spike knife making class, which is a 3 to 4 hour long course. It's great for beginners, anybody looking into getting into it. And I also offer 2-day, 3-day, and 4-day courses as well. And that is for anybody that's truly maybe thinking about getting into this themselves, or they just want to make that full knife experience. So each of those days offers more insight and more creativity in what goes on in the process.
I take it you provide the railroad spike?
Oh, I supply the railroad spikes, the metals, the handle, anything you name it. I've got it all. That's right.
So I can just ignorant self show up?
Yes, you just show up, bring a smile, and we'll get to work.
All right, I can do that. And these classes, tell me a little about when they're offered, how often they're offered, seasonality, things of that nature.
So I offer the classes every day, Monday through Saturday, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. That's especially with the railroad spike class because it is such a short-term class. Now, my multi-day classes I do offer periodically throughout the year. My next upcoming ones of those will take place during the spring just because they are a little bit of a longer course right there, and I'm able to offer just the more time to actually dedicate to that. But otherwise, they are year-round.
Okay, my brother-in-law, John Chrysler, really enjoys the show. He's a fan of yours, and he said, ask him, does he use old-school equipment? Or if it's new school equipment, what's he do?
Well, like I kind of said before, this is a process that's been around for a very, very long time, so it's not like I've reinvented the wheel, but I have certainly brought some modern aspects to make my life a lot easier. I started off a little bit more old school, not using a whole lot on the power tool side, but I've got machines now, Rick, that they'll get it done significantly easier than I can. Otherwise, I'd probably be a lot bigger than I am. So that's a lot of hammer swinging,
I got you. What is your favorite thing about what you do?
Well, especially with the classes, it's just getting to meet all new people. Every single day, there are new people in my shop that I get to meet and connect with and ultimately bond a relationship with and show them what I do.
How, I know you've got a great website. I really enjoyed it, ledfordworks.com. How do most folks find out about you? How do you get the word out?
So, number of different ways. Of course, just using Google the best way that I can with that. When people are in the area, whether they're visiting Hiawassee or Blairsville or Helen or Blue Ridge, any areas like that, they're of course looking
Don't
for
leave out
things to do.
Hayesville. I live in Hayesville.
Well, Hayesville too. I definitely get some
Okay.
as well. So you know how everybody is up here.
Yeah, yeah.
So they are always looking for things to do. So while they're in that, they can either find some of my brochures that I have all over the place, or of course searching on Google for things to do. Just short-term things to enjoy while they're on their vacation.
If someone would like to give your classes a gift, can they?
Absolutely. So I offer gift certificates on my website as well, which is a phenomenal way for you to bless your loved ones with something fun to do, whether it's in the holiday season or for a birthday or any reason, really.
Folks, this is radio. Hold your hands up. I can testify that he still has all his fingers, so I think he's probably pretty safe. I believe I would trust him with a class.
If somebody was going to get hurt, it would have been me by now. So
And you seem to have weathered it well.
we're doing all right. Still, hopefully, it'll keep going that way.
If someone's interested in taking your class, they can reach out to you through your website, ledfordworks.com.
Yes, sir.
They'll find you on Facebook. What do they enter in Facebook?
If you just search Ledford Works, it'll bring it up on Facebook. Same thing with Instagram as well. Those are all different ways that you can search for me. And, of course, anywhere on the internet, Ledford Works will bring me right up.
Works will bring you right up. Folks, today's guest is Caleb Ledford. He is a two-time finalist in Forged in Fire. I sure hope you'll take one of his classes. I will commit to taking a class with you with
Good.
my brother-in-law.
Excellent, excellent.
I think we would have a blast just having done a little research. I so appreciate y'all listening. Tune in next week. As always, really appreciate it.